So I decided to bite the bullet and watch They Slash Them, the incredibly controversial LGBT slasher flick released on Peacock in 2022. The film follows a group of LGBT teenagers who are sent to a week-long conversion camp by their parents, and while attending the camp begin to experience distressing and traumatic means of conversion by the counselors while also being stalked by an anonymous mass killer. Despite the film having a very interesting and inclusive premise, it was released to Peacock in 2022 to mostly negative acclaim from both critics and audiences, who considered it shallow, offensive, and poorly executed. As someone who is also among the community, I was interested in watching this movie right from the get-go, despite the negative reviews it received. We've seen themes and central plots of LGBT romance and inclusion portrayed in many other types of films before, but it's never really explored that often in a modern-day slasher movie, or a horror film at all, at least to my knowledge. Because of that, and because horror is my favorite genre, I was very happy to see that such an inclusive movie was being made in the genre. The movie was directed and written by John Logan, who wrote Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and it was produced by Blumhouse Productions, the multi-million-dollar horror movie conglomerate who may as well be the Marvel Studios of horror at this point. They produced a plethora of modern horror movies such as the Paranormal Activity franchise, the Purge films, Freaky, and even the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. While not all of Blumhouse's films have been bona fide masterpieces, you really gotta respect the company and founder Jason Blum as a whole for being so dedicated to the horror genre. It isn't often we get to see capital B big horror movies with outstanding budgets and cinematic feels to them, and while They Slash Them obviously isn't among their more bigger budget feats, you still gotta respect it for being so inclusive and for putting focus on such an important topic, even if some say the execution is flawed in hindsight. I agree that for the most part that They Slash Them is not a great movie. The pacing and tone are all over the place, the writing feels too surface level and disingenuous rather than true to the heart, and a lot of the characters do feel like the offensive stereotypes that so many people love to put the LGBT community in. It also doesn't even put up a decent argument to justify the dismantling of conversion camps. In fact, it actually sort of feels like that at times it's pushing the message that being among the LGBT community is something to be ashamed and embarrassed of. This feels like a movie where if you were to show it to an unaccepting parent with a queer kid, it wouldn't even convert them to be a little more accepting. While it obviously wasn't John Logan's intention to push that type of message, the writing feels so unnecessarily cruel and sometimes evil at times, and not in a cool villain way. It's more like a wow, that's fucked up way. The only thing I'd say that gives this movie a bit of redemption for that unintentional bigotry is the killer reveal, which ends up being Molly, with her motive being that she wants all conversion camps to be dismantled. While that obviously is a respectable motive and isn't an outright evil one, it feels like a cheap and ham-fisted way for the movie to say, see, we've been accepting this whole time. But it ends up coming across as very disingenuous, which is disappointing to say. I feel like the movie also doesn't even do that great of a job at being a slasher film, and that's mainly because of the terrible pacing. For the first hour or so of the movie, nothing really happens, and it's only towards the end of the movie is when the bodies start stacking up. It got to a point where this movie didn't even really feel like it needed to be a slasher movie, and it could have been so much less tonally messy if the slasher aspect was dropped entirely. I feel like it actually would have been really cool to see this movie take more of an escape room route, where the counselors are holding the kids there against their will until they become straight, and the kids work together to escape. However, the movie just ends up feeling like a total mess. It sometimes feels like a thriller, it sometimes feels like a queerified camp rock, and it sometimes feels like a B-slasher movie, which really adds to this movie's disingenuous attempt at pushing a message of equality. I feel like had this movie's intentions been genuine, it could have been a really excellent commentary on growing up in a discriminated minority group and learning to love yourself for who you are, but this movie's writing just feels shallow and exactly like the type of thing bigoted people would watch just to laugh at. That being said, I still didn't hate this movie as much as everyone else did, and that's mainly because of the incredibly inclusive cast who clearly cared about the movie's success and did their best to make you enjoy the movie. I especially really like non-binary actor Theo Germain as Jordan, our non-binary main character who was sent to the conversion camp as a deal with their parents, where their parents would sign their emancipation form if they attended the camp, and it's really hard not to feel bad for Jordan at times. Germain plays them with such a sympathetic and honest performance, and it's one definitely worth mentioning. However, I think the rest of the cast did a super good job as well, and there were actually a couple of scenes in the movie where the writing felt like it was coming from a good place, such as the scene where the kids all sing and dance to Fucking Perfect by Pink, and I feel like the song itself portrays a message that feels relatable and genuine to this movie's otherwise messy themes. Despite a lot of the characters feeling like stereotypes, I also like that some of the characters didn't feel like stereotypes at all. For example, Cooper Koch plays Stu, a muscular jock-type character who attends the camp because he doesn't want to be gay. In most movies, gay characters are portrayed as overly effeminate and flashy, but Koch portrays Stu as a gay man that just looks like an everyday normal guy who just happens to be gay. Same goes for Anna Lore, who plays Kim, who is a lesbian, but attends the camp because she doesn't want to be a lesbian. Most lesbians in films are portrayed as butch and masculine, but Lore portrays Kim as your everyday everyday, normal, coffee-drinking white girl. That's one theme of this movie that I felt like was actually portrayed well, that people shouldn't be fit into a certain style or behavior based on their sexuality. I wish the movie had more moments like that. I really wanted to love they/them, but unfortunately a lot of it feels incredibly misguided and hurtful, and despite a few standout scenes with good acting and writing, it overall just feels like one big pile of meh. If a sequel ever gets made, I'm hoping the writer learns from the mistakes of the first film and tries to make an honest and genuine, tonally coherent film. I'm giving they/them a 5 to a light 6 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching my review/rant of they/them. Haha, see what I did there? No? Just me? Okay. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and until the next video, my name is Zero, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.